And also, I'm just going to say this. I actually think this is where people like Dom, they've gotten beaten down too much money. He's lost 2 worlds. He's taken 2 worlds L's to the face. He hasn't realised yet. I'm taking those 2 L's and spinning them sideways and making a W out of them. Because here's why. Because Monty, I'll tell you one thing I can tell you right now. You might think I can't be this bold. You know what? I can't know if Hanwha will be the best. I think they've got a very good chance, but Gen G's roster could be good. There's some LPL teams we can discuss could be good. But I'll tell you one thing I do think. I'm not even a Doran hater, but crucially for me, Doran needs to be on a team where the main carries are the mid and ADC, obviously. So the main problem, I think, is this. I think that Zeus leaving has killed all of the hype around T1, though. Because, one, he was the best carry, in my opinion. And then, two, I think he was the one that enabled a lot of the draft shenanigans. So I think that goes away. Like, bro, if you're Doran, you just play the meta champions now. Like, how does T1 become special? Surely now, for real, I think they haven't just lost the potency, bro. I think they're going to be like the 4th Korean team or something insane like that. Like, they're not even going to be that good.
Yeah,
it's going to be over for them, innit?
I think that people underestimate the amount of pressure in draft Zeus was able to absorb, both by having weird flex picks, as well as frequently just blind picking and just straight up winning a lot of the time. Like the fact that he spent a lot of this year... The fact that he spent a lot of this year as a top laner, you know, for most of this year, he had the lowest counter pick percentage of any top laner in draft, whereas Keen had the highest. And what he would do is he would just pick Aatrox or TF like every fucking game and do extremely well on these champions, which allowed his other teammates to have counter picks, which is honestly very crucial a lot of the time for Keria and the way that their bot lane plays, especially if they want to do bot lane flexes or have Keria's weird supports or play aggressive with double ADCs like they did. These were really crucial for them. And it does change a lot of the way that they are going to play. It also, you know, there are a lot more weaknesses. You could say, well, Doran can play Jackson GP, which is true, but he's not the same carry player that Zeus is, especially on weird champions. And it's not like Zeus can't play Jackson GP, right? He's just much more versatile. Doran's a very low economy, weak side player. And that's fine, but somebody has to be the mega carry on T1 then. And Gumayushi was the most consistent player of this year, but he was never really in contention at any point this year as best ADC, not, you know, in the world, or not even LCK. He was being outshone at all times by basically other players. And he does have some pretty substantial champion pool weaknesses also. So he's good. He's a very good ADC, but he is not the same level of elite that we've seen from players like Light or Elk or Ruler or Viper at times, right? He's never had that level of a high, and that's concerning. Maybe he will. Maybe this is his opportunity to do it. Maybe he steps up. Maybe Faker, a lot of the treatments he's taken for his wrist will help him perform or be able to practice more and be better. These are all possibilities that could happen, but it does seem on its face that this is going to be absolutely a weaker T1 roster. And yeah, I mean, also to your point about Zeus signing, there were rumors last year that he had LPL offers that were absolutely massive, and he took the L to stay on T1 this year to kind of keep the band together for one more year. And he's not obligated to keep on taking the L in his prime. Like, you could say, well, T1 was going to offer him the bag, but as you say, somebody was lying in this situation, and the agency said publicly that they were coming back with counter offers to T1 as late as like 3:20 p.m. in Korean time. And the agency says that the negotiation ended at 3:30 p.m. due to an unacceptable counteroffer from T1. So, you know,
listen, I know Monty what they mean, but that sounds like the way that's phrased is like, oh yeah, well, about my counter offer is I want to fuck your mum. All right, that's unacceptable about this negotiation. Because even though I know what they mean, but it's like just too low an offer. Just the way that's phrased sounds so salacious. Like, that's an unacceptable counter offer.
Well, and they said that
up your own ass. Like, I love it.
I mean, it's just like they said as well that there were calls between Zeus and T1 going on as late as like 2:53 p.m. So they were having calls up until, the last 40 minutes or so.
That's another thing, because we're reading this from the T1 side. You don't realize how bad you can make this sound, Monty. It's like they give you a low ball offer. So it's like, nah, fuck those guys. Ignore them. Just focus on Hannibal Life. And every time you try to talk, you just get like incoming call, 40,001 extra cent. Like, oh, shut up, Joe Marsh. Like, I'm calling again. Oh, 2:53 can we meet? Bro, just let me meet you in person, please. I must see you. By the way, that even has crazy, like, overly attached ex-girlfriend vibes as well. Like, please, I just have to meet you in person and get closure, please. If I just meet you, it'll all be okay. I'll say the right things. It's so weird.
Well, it's also that, Joe Marsh was claiming that there were no counteroffers from the agency. So something really weird happened. Monty,
I've got a question for you as well. This is one thing I wanted to ask and no one else did. Why is Joe Marsh the one saying any of this? Like, first of all, notice every second of the story before his AMA wasn't about Joe Marsh. It was about this An Young guy or whatever, the COO, right? It was all about the idea he's like this person. By the way, even that was so weird, the way it was phrased, like some nightmare PR speak. Like, and he had to meet them because he was the one that was really passionate. He used to be in the back of vlogs. Like, what are you even talking about, you lunatics? Or, okay, so there's that weird angle. Like, why isn't he the one making a statement translated into English? Why is Joe Marsh coming along? And basically, as far as I can tell, go like this, Monty. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll be holding a press conference, but I have no information, no details, and I'm just going to over and over again repeat the talking point, which is we aim to give them the best deal offer, and I can't address any facts. Because I actually thought what the agents did that absolutely played T1 is T1 gave no details, and the agents gave a literal list of details. Right. By the way, Monty, even if it turns out the agents are wrong, they look like they're right in that one. They look like they win because they had a bunch of potential facts and like a timeline and stuff. T1 was basically saying, just believe us, but we're not going to give you any actual info to work with. Like, just believe what we're saying, that, we tried our best and they didn't. Because in this scenario, I have to factor in, Monty, it's possible Joe Marsh just doesn't know what offers were going on. Maybe he wasn't on the ground in that sense. Maybe he was just told a report by someone else of what we're going to say publicly. Because I don't know, was this guy involved with the deal? Who the fuck knows? He's just the mouthpiece, as far as I can tell.
Well, the thing about Joe Marsh, too, is that all of this was obviously happening in Korean language. So how could he possibly, sure, I'm sure.
No, you fucked up now. Him and Reckless were sat off the side going, did you get all that? Yeah, I got it all, mate. Oh, fucking, I know Korean too. Yeah, fucking tell you what. It's brilliant in T1, isn't it?
It feels like this is all just a weird game of telephone that was taken. Like, all of this took place in Korean, was then translated into English for Joe Marsh. Joe Marsh then took this information, said it in English, and then it got translated back into Korean. So I have a really hard time when we get to the fiddly language surrounding this, believing that this is all 100% like tonally accurate language information that we're receiving, right? For that reason, because it's been translated in such a fucking weird back and forth way. But also to there are a bunch of really interesting questions surrounding this, because T1 said that there was a 3 p.m. deadline that the agency said was sent by Hanwha. But then T1 accuses the agency of doing it because they called Hanwha and Hanwha said they didn't set the deadline, which, by the way, Hanwha has no reason to not lie about, by the way.
Now, I did say it. So T1, because they tried to claim this money, T1 were like, we've reached out to Hanwha. Right, so you now believe your direct competitor, both in the game and in negotiation, is telling you the truth privately, not like the agent who wants to deal with one of the two of you. That already is mental in itself, bro. You're already off the reservation. And then also, secondly, that's also an interesting detail, Monty, because you ready? This is actually where T1 slipped up, I can tell you as a journalist. Because think about what you've just said there, Monty. What you've said is this: if you're T1, you're presenting the case, even though I noticed by the time you get to Joe Marsh's comment, you've backed way off all the shit in the hearsay. Notice in the hearsay, it was like T1 are mad and they're going to sue this guy and they're going to fucking find all information and use television stations. And by the time you got to Joe Marsh, it was like, I believe they might have operated in a grey area where, we're not sure. All of a sudden, they walked all the way.
That was legally wrong.
By the end, it doesn't even sound like you're that mad. But anyway, you pretended you were. So here's the point, Monty. This is the part that's mad. You've publicly claimed these agents are not just shady, they're liars and have actively sabotaged the deal you're involved in. And that you've reached out to the other party in the deal, Hanwha, and they've confirmed to you there was this deadline. Spoiler, do you want to know the way Hanwha could confirm that T1's telling the truth and these orgs are dodgy? They could make a public statement, Monty. They could go, we would just like to say that there was actually a deadline at 3 p.m. not set by us. Do you know what's weird, Monty? They haven't done that. Even even though
crazy.
This is where T1 is fucked up, guys. Because all Hanwha has to do to get rid of a bad agent that's actually acting really fucked up is just now agree publicly with what T1 said. They're never going to, by the way. Spoiler, I predict Hanwha will never address this. And by the way, you shouldn't. You won. You've won already. Let T1 just froth and boil and rage and fucking all of it. But don't worry about that. Leave it. Just leave it.
It's also these suppositions that people have, like, the agency was acting in bad faith, that they should have done more and they weren't doing what was best for Zeus. But they're ignoring.
The agent did an awesome job. They got a better deal for Zeus. And my joke would be unfuck T1 as a bonus, but that's obviously not positive for T1. I get that part.
But just if there's a scenario here where, unless we know what Zeus's thoughts were, because if Zeus just tells his agency,
here's what we would do. We're not at that level yet, guys. When we get funded, we will do stuff like this. What I would have done if we had funding was this: I would have had Dom via a green screen create a thing where the jokers, we were like, but who exactly is Zeus's agent? And then we reveal it's like, like it's like a fake Korean name for Dom, and it's like him in disguise, like all like we should just do a whole thing like that, like he was the mastermind the whole time behind the deal. That would be the angle, wouldn't it? Like that's what a hater he is. He's like he got Doran into T1. That was Tom's ultimate revenge. That would be straight fire. By the way, Kelsey thought, even though I don't know me shout out, fuck it, enough years have gone by. Kelsey Moser actually had the best joke on this topic. Did you see it, Monty?
No, I didn't.
She had, like, in her usual incredibly dry style of humor, because she has that like.
Yeah, deadpan.
Just worked all day and drank a load of whiskey type sense of humor, right? She just said that it was like Faker had accomplished everything. So they said to him, like, what are you going to do now, sir? You've accomplished everything there is to do. And he was like, took a sip of water. Give me Doran. So like, that's like the last challenge left is like carry Doran to a world. That's pretty good. That's actually fire. That's however she workshopped that was well done. That was executed well. I like that. I appreciate that.
I do think in Zeus's case, though, that we can really just apply Occam's razor to this situation with the information that we know happened, which is as follows. Here's the information that we know happened, okay? Zeus wanted to go to free agency for whatever reason. When free agency hit, he declined to meet with T1 and apparently ignored their offers. So either you can believe that the agency was doing a bad job, which is not in their best interest, because then they lose Zeus potentially as a client, and also they lose a bunch of the money because their commission is dependent on the amount of money he receives, right? And so why would they do that unless like T1 was trying to like cut the agency out from that contract in some way, which then would disincentivize them, which seems like a bad negotiating tactic when you're involving agents because you want them to advise your client. So maybe they're like, maybe T1 fucked themselves in that way. Who knows? But for whatever reason, Zeus did not want to have a meeting with T1 and then just signed with Hanwha Life. Okay. So what I would say is we just apply Occam's razor to the situation. Zeus just didn't want to fucking be on T1. Now, we don't know, was that a low ball that they gave him at first? Was he like, hey man, I stayed on this team for one extra year. I don't want to meet with you because it's going to be super awkward when I just tell you no to your face. And there's no point in like you driving out to this meeting. So I just tell you that. So I'm just going to sign this deal from Hanwha. Maybe Hanwha offered him a fuck ton more money. Probably did. Even if T1 was good. Maybe he's best friends with Peanut. Who the fuck knows?
Already no one can relate to you. And this is why stan culture is the worst shit ever, Monty. Because remember, they all believe, because of the interviews and the videos, that everyone in T1 are best friends. And they all love each other. You have to understand, Monty, they all just want to play together. That's why I said earlier, I actually think the most sinister implication that T1 fans are saying themselves, but they're not thinking through, is by your own logic, why would owner Gumayusi and Keria feel trapped now? This is awesome. They wanted to be in this org, and this is the best org they can be in. Because, by the way, can I just bring that little detail up as well? I haven't hit that point hard enough yet. Bro, that means they're all getting lowballed. Like, if I'm owner, I'm supposed to go now, Monty, and get, like, the Katie Roaster deal where I get, like, $2 million to be their star jungler. If I'm Gumayusi, maybe I'm supposed to go and play in, like, the LPL and get, like, $4 million a year or something. Like, bro, this is the time where everyone's leverage is enormous, and apparently a bunch of them who were world champions, that you're never going to get a better chance than that, are just signing, like, not the biggest deals. Like, I'm also concerned for these players, because here's the part that people don't mention that's really dirty, is here's the prediction for you, Monty. When Doran isn't good enough, and they just end up being like third, and like a distant third or something in LCK, they don't win the title or make the finals. And so as a result, here's already when nobody's even, this is where, Monty, you have to be a hater like me and Dom, but no one's even thought far enough ahead. Are you ready? Here's a sentence that when I utter out loud, you'll go, well, that's obvious, but you haven't thought it through, T1 fans. Are you ready? You know when you don't make the LCK final, Monty? You won't be in that first fucking fearless draft thing. And then we don't make spring, you won't be at MSI. You'll only have Worlds this year in EWC. That's it. So already you're going to have way less of a T1 because everyone assumes T1's going to be in all these international tournaments. We all do. And then secondly, I'll just throw this out there. Once you have a bad year where you don't make any finals and you don't win anything, that's where Faker just goes, actually, it is time for me to retire. That's the end of my career. That's the end. Now, if you're Onigumushin, what have you got now, mate? You're just a guy on you might even be on T1 in the future at that point. Who knows? Like, your career could be anywhere. Are you even a top player anymore? Do people want to build around you? Are you known as like a great? Do people just see you as the T1 demise? Like, this could actually get dark for everyone now, mate. This could be this is like the moment it all changed. It could have had one last gasp, or it might just all go downhill now. I'll worry about that.
Yeah, and look, like, maybe Zeus was being shitty and telling his other teammates that he was going to resign.
Could certainly be true.
Didn't do it. Like, there's a lot of sure. angles this could go, right? Like, we don't know who's lying in this situation. Like, T1 could be 100% telling the truth, but even if we take everything that T1 said at face value, it could just literally have been Zeus being like, I don't want to be at T1 anymore. And his agent's like, okay.
I'll just reference this. This is where it is actually glorious. This is where Reckless did me a favor, because T1 fans have to be Reckless fans because he was in their org, Monty. Well, do you know what? Do you guys hate players who give verbal agreements that they'll join teams and then don't join the team after the team mix the rest of the roster? Oh, Reckless in 2020, you mean? When he told Fnatic in the offseason, he was a free agent, oh, I'll stay and be part of your team. Then he was like, actually, I think I'm just going to go and join G2. Are you ready? Our rival, and this will blow your mind, Monty, a better roster. So you mean you hate people like that? You better hate Reckless then. I didn't do that. He did that, not me, mate. Because I made this point in my video as well, Monty, that this just shows you also the insane double standards. Because remember, Monty, if G2 has a player under contract, they're supposed to directly sell to their rival because the fan and the player wants that, even though they have them under contract. But people who are free agents can't just choose where to go. Like, what is this? They just changed the rules depending on if they like the player or the team.
Love that people think that there is some sort of law that's being broken here when it's literally a free agent, uncontracted player choosing which meetings to take and which contracts to sign. Right? He's not obligated to give T1 a meeting. He's not obligated to let them match the offer. He can do whatever the fuck he wants. He's a free agent. He is out of contract. So I think, what it comes down to is that T1 was baffled that for the first time ever, somebody had said no to T1. And they just really can't process this information. Yeah.
Monty, this for real has that vibe of like a hot girl who's never been rejected. And she's wigging out that someone said no. Like, yes. She can't handle it. She's melting down. Yeah.
She's like, but I'm just as hot as that other girl. Yeah, but exactly. I like this one more.
Yeah.
It's true. And this doesn't just have to do with Joe Marsh, guys. You have to remember that T1 has been the most prestigious esports organization on earth for like 2 decades. Okay, so this well predates anything that has happened. The reason why Comcast came in and bought this roster and like went on in the joint venture with this team was because that was the good team. That was the premier brand. This was where the prestige was. That's why they're here. Okay, and so it's not just
it's won 2 worlds. It still is the prestige brand. It's not treated like that.
Yeah, sure. But I mean, this is the T1 is the crown gem of esports. Period. In terms of,
I mean, it is for real, Monty. Like legacy. Saying I want to leave the Yankees or something like that. Like some team you don't leave, essentially, right?
So I can imagine that it's not just Joe Marsh, who's definitely is like a Johnny come lately. It is also all of the people at the T1 organization who have been there for decades, in some case, being like, holy shit. And like the new people are probably watching their reactions to this situation. And the fact that they have locked up Faker for so many years and he's just been the draw. And it's like they could always get whatever players they wanted. They never lost a negotiation. Did they always construct their rosters the best? No. They didn't. Were there always the free agents available who wanted to join their team? No. But like when a player who was free had the opportunity to join with T1, they always did. That's the thing. Like there haven't been in League of Legends history players who have spurned T1, right? It always has been seen.
I mean, there's a rare one. There's the Smebs of the world, but even then, that's like that in itself was half the news. Was like they said no to T1. You're right, yeah, of course.
But it's been really rare.
You can even say, I mean, this is separate, but it's actually coincidental. Also, especially for top lane, Monty, that's the place you go to win the championship as a top laner. Every top laner tries to join T1. Flame did, obviously Khan and all the others, Duke, etc. all did. So no, that's the thing. I get for real, no joke. They just are not used to anyone saying no, and especially not. I know this will sound weird, but that's why I think they were so entitled. They were like, and you dare say no for more money and a better contract? Who do you think you are? You think you're better than us? It's like, spoiler one, yes, I do think he's better than you. And two, now he's better with a great contract too, so suck that, you fucking losers. Also, last thing, Monty, this is where I love checkmating people logically. Monty, why is there a problem? Remember, if you're T1 the org, you can't complain because you're the one who made Doran, you're the one who made Zeus, right? You did everything. He was from your academy, and then you trained him, and you developed him, and you brought him up. So then just develop Doran, no problem. By the way, Doran already won 4 of the last 5 LCK titles, dickhead. Surely by your logic, if the rest of the team's as awesome as you think, and this is where I get the T1 fans. No, you guys said it's all faker. Well, if it's all faker, and Guma's sick, and Kerry is a god, and Ona's got a great league in, then why do we need Zeus? Just have Doran, no problem. It's all right, mate. Remember, I've been told, Monty, these people aren't even top players of their own right. They are just fakers, sand soldiers. Well, you know what? What's one sand soldier to another? Just have Doran instead of Zeus. There you go. Use that sand soldier faker and show me how goated you actually are. There you go. So, by the way, I'll just put this out there. I'm not going to make a big thing because we don't care about the esports awards. Monty, they gave him PC Player of the Year.
I know. It's outrageous. It's all right. Falcons from Saudi Arabia won Esports Team of the Year.
Yeah, but here's what's sad. Do you want to know an insane statement? That's more legit, though, because at least they do have other games they are really good. Sure, top team in Dota and other games. You know, the different Overwatch, I think. The problem is, I said this before, bro, this is how bad we're getting now. Faker isn't even the best player on his team, and he's winning the best player in all of esports awards. And people are saying it to me, Monty. They're going, yeah, but do you see the way he carried Game 5? It's PC Player of the whole year, you moron. So anyway, we'll get bothered by that. We'll let that get to me.
Because the only thing anybody ever watches is Worlds, so they just didn't watch the rest of the year. They missed summer where he was deeply unspectacular. But anyway, I also think that it's crucial to mention here because some people might be confused about how all of this happened, because the obvious question, Thorin, that comes up in this scenario is, all right, this is the year where the luxury tax is getting introduced. We're in the middle of esports winter. So can somebody please explain to me why both Hanwha and T1 are so eager to just spend into the luxury tax territory? Why are they throwing all this money out there at this time? And I'll tell you the reason behind this, guys, is because why people are so upset about this and why there has been this giant PR kerfuffle has been because this is a pissing contest between 2 billionaire families. We have reached the stage of traditional sports now, guys. And what is happening is that the billionaire family that owns Comcast and the billionaire family that owns Hanwha Life have people within these families that are deeply emotionally invested in the esports scene. So they are willing to spend almost anything in order to win. Okay? It has nothing to do with financial reality. It has nothing to do with sustainability, and has everything to do with billionaires trying to one-up each other. Okay, that is why this whole shit is happening right now. And you don't see this because these people are not public figures, but everybody behind the scenes knows that this is exactly what is going on. And it's the same shit when a very rich NBA owner goes into the luxury tax to win a title and to get, to spend the most money, because it's not logically about money at that point in time. It is about, you have so much money that it doesn't matter, and what you really want is just to win a title. That's what matters. You're buying it, right? And so that's why this is happening. And that's also why the outrage is occurring. It's like, how could this possibly happen to me? How could they outbid me? But that's what's going on, guys, is that there are actual very, very, very rich people who are just fighting each other over Zeus. And that's why all of this drama is occurring. It's not about either of these teams making financially
See more cool,
good
funny,
decisions.
interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.